Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Dr. Nick. My name is Dr. Nick Schmillikoffer, and I work for the Neurologic Wellness Institute here in downtown Chicago. And today's episode is a really important, vital episode, in my opinion, because there's a few things that we really need to do in life, and that is breathe, sleep, and eat. And today's question of the day is, how can breathing change your life? And we're going to talk about this one specific paper and basically how to breathe properly to improve your rest and digest nervous system, to improve your vagus nerve activation. Basically, ways that we can control our breath, to control our minds, and to lessen not only stress or take control of stress in our life, but also make our bodies healthier, make our guts healthier, and decrease inflammation. And so let's go right away to the article. And the article is called How Breath Control Can Change Your Life. It's a systematic review of psychophysiological correlates of slow breathing. It is from September 2018, and it's obviously here in Frontiers of Neuroscience. So it's a relatively new article, and we're going to talk mostly about the abstract here. So there are psychophysiological changes in the brain and body interaction that are observed with meditative and relaxing practices that rely on these voluntary slow down breath frequency. However, we don't really know how these mechanisms work, and so this is kind of looking into that. This review looked mostly at slow breathing techniques, so less than 10 breaths per minute, which is really only like 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out on every breath, which really isn't that bad. It's not that hard to do, and their effects on healthy subjects. Okay, they looked at a ton of different abstracts, and they only found 15 articles that met their criteria. The main criteria were they looked at physiological outcomes, like was there a change in heart rate variability, or a change in brain waves, or a change in heart rate, let's say. But then also along with the psychotherapeutic or psychophysiological changes. So did the healthy subjects feel better or less stressed, more relief, calm, whatever that may be? And their results were the main effects of slow breathing cover autonomic and central nervous system activities, as well as the psychological status. Okay, slow breathing techniques promote autonomic changes in heart rate variability, respiratory sinus arrhythmia, paralleled by central nervous system activity modifications. Okay, so let's just break this one down. So heart rate variability is the ability of your heart rate to jump up and down fast, basically the ability of it to change. For instance, if you need to walk upstairs, your heart rate should be able to jump up real fast and then come back down. It's measured by a beat-to-beat change. So basically, we want a larger heart rate variability. We want our ability to maybe, if your resting heart rate's at like 60, we'd like it to, from one beat at 60, the next beat at 63, and then it's 61, and then it's 58, and it jumps around. That is a better heart rate variability versus something that's just like 60 on every beat. That's not as good. This heart rate variability shows that our bodies have the ability to adapt, the ability to robustly change to the ever-changing world and context that we live in. And so a better heart rate variability is a better parasympathetic nervous system, a more relaxed state, better ability to adapt to stress. On the other hand, then here, respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Arrhythmia means that there is a change in rhythm in the heart rate. Respiratory sinus arrhythmia means that with our breath, so as we breathe in and breathe out, that heart rhythm changes. And so generally, as we breathe in, we are going to have an increased heart rate. And then as we breathe out, we have a decreased heart rate. And so this is good. This is normal to have a respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Generally, most athletes have it. Healthy people should have it. And this means that we have good cardiovascular and autonomic functioning. So slow breathing techniques improved both of these things. And then this was paralleled by activity in the central nervous system, meaning that the nervous system caused these changes. Also, studies saw that EEG, so electroencephalogram or brainwave changes, also occurred. There was an increase in the alpha and a decrease in theta waves. So alpha waves are kind of like our autopilot rest state, and we generally want more alpha waves. Not always, everybody's a little bit different, but the more alpha waves, that's that more normal versus higher beta activity or lower theta activity. If we have too low of theta, if we have too high of theta activity, then that can cause like attention issues, fatigue, decreased processing. And so it was seen here that slow breathing actually decreases theta waves, which in that case is better because we don't have those slow processing or decreased attention factors. And then increasing alpha also puts us in a better state versus an increase in beta. An increase in beta would cause racing thoughts, possibly anxiety. Okay, anatomically, with fMRI studies, there is increased activity in multiple brain regions, both in the cortex, prefrontal, motor, parietal cortices, in the subcortical regions, so places below that, like the brainstem, the thalamus, perioccipital gray, and hypothalamus. All those are in the brainstem or just beneath the cortex. Hypothalamus is part of our limbic system, which we'll talk about, that is super important in controlling our neuroendocrine system, our hormones, our emotions, and our autonomic system. And they also found here that psychological behavioral outputs were also improved. So there was increased comfort, relaxation, pleasantness, vigor, alertness, reduced symptoms of arousal, anxiety, reduced depression and anger and confusion, all with slow breathing. So concluding, they said slow breathing techniques enhance autonomic, cerebral or brain, and psychological flexibility to in a scenario of mutual interactions. They increase parasympathetic activity by increased heart rate variability. The central nervous system activities like increased alpha, decreased theta, that are all related to the emotional control and psychological well-being in healthy subjects. Well, that is fantastic. So of the possible mechanisms, so this, they weren't able to distinguish. Of the possible mechanisms of slow breathing, it could be either the voluntary regulation of internal bodily states or interoception. So interoception meaning that we can feel our insides. We have the ability to understand and be able to control our breath, control what we're doing with our eyes closed, and just feel how our body moves, feel if we are breathing diaphragmatically or breathing in our chest, but also to just be able to control that. And the other is associated with maybe mechanoreceptors, so receptors that are in the nasal cavity or nasal vault, that as we breathe in through our nose, they modulate activity, and then that can in turn have receptors that connect into the brain. So we're going to talk about both of these here real quick. Let's go to this one. Okay, so this is the limbic system. The cingulate gyrus is the limbic system is the most inner part of the brain, the most midline. And so this is all within the brain, deep within. And the cingulate gyrus is here. And then you have the hippocampus, which deals with memory. You have the thalamus, and you have the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is that structure that's important in autonomic functions and neuroendocrine control with hormones. You have the amygdala, which is a fear center, and yeah, basically a fear center. So, and then here's the olfactory bulb. So the olfactory bulb is important in smell, but it also has some mechanoreceptors. And so when we breathe in through our nose, we activate these mechanoreceptors, and this proposed mechanism of altering altering the limbic system by improving limbic system control over the rest of our body can help with all of those physiological effects they talked about, the increased heart rate variability, the changes in the brain waves, and then obviously the improved psychological outcome. The other is the interoception. And so when we breathe in, ideally through our nose, then what happens is our lungs need to expand. And our lungs can expand through our chest, moving up and down, or when our diaphragm is this muscle that is below our rib cage. It's stuck underneath our lungs. And when this contracts, it drops down, allowing the lungs to then expand. And when the lungs expand, that's how we get air in. And so by being able to control the diaphragm's activity of breathing in slow and out, breathing in through our nose, having this contract and descend, and then during expiration, breathing out, the diaphragm relaxes and therefore it pushes the lungs out, it pushes the air out. Having this control and breath, this control over our diaphragm, is this interoception, being able to feel what's going on within our body. At the same time, what's cool is as our diaphragm descends, we have a bunch of organs underneath here, our small intestine, our stomach, our colon, our liver, and all of that drops down with it. We actually get movement of our organs. Our kidneys actually move. Our kidneys, a mile a day, just by proper movement of our diaphragm, pushing it down. And this can help with the elimination of waste and the production of urine. And so this interoception, this autonomic, this movement changes our autonomic nervous system and therefore improves, again, all those things, that increase in the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, and then the decrease in the sympathetic activity, leading to these physiological outcomes. So what I want to talk about here at the end is what is the best way to breathe for breath control. And there are a lot of different theories. And the article there at the end that I didn't show was that they found the best is 6 breaths per minute. So 6 breaths in 60 seconds, that's 10 seconds per breath. So that's like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Some people teach you should breathe out longer than you breathe in. So you could do like 3 seconds in, 2 seconds hold, 5 seconds out. Sometimes that can cause people to have too much oxygen, cause just anxiety from holding that breath. Sometimes it works really well for people. Generally what I start with people is just breathing nice and easy, the same amount in and out into their belly using their diaphragm. And so I'm going to start at like 4 seconds in and out and then work to 5 seconds in and out. And then 5 seconds in and out would be 10 seconds per breath. So we breathe in through our nose and then out through our teeth. Okay, so if you just breathe out through your nose or out through your mouth, sometimes the breath goes out really fast. So you got to make the hole a little bit smaller. So I go through my teeth. So again, if we just breathe in nice and easy into our belly, it's so that would be 1 breath. It takes about 10 seconds. You can do it laying down. You can do it sitting up. It's definitely easier to start by laying down, especially maybe on the ground, feet up on the couch, or feet flat, and trying to get this full expansion into your belly, into the sides of your belly, so that all parts of the diaphragm are working, but also breathe in through the nose so we can activate those mechanoreceptors. So I hope you really enjoyed this one. Everybody should practice breathing at least once or twice a day, just a few minutes. I always talk to my patients about 3 to 5 minutes every morning and night, just to control their breath and therefore able to control their stress, improve the function of their autonomic nervous system. And so if you really want to improve your brain and body, you should really work on your breathing, along with those other things we talked about. So breathing, sleep, and eating properly. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you have any suggestions for future topics, again, please leave them below. And otherwise, thank you and stay healthy.